are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College League Podcast, episode 247 of the College League Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, iBoating on Twitter, here to talk to you about the latest in Auburn football news. But as I sit here without my background, hold on a minute. There we go. Fixing that right up. Get started right away. Did not talk about this in the Sunday live stream because I wanted to save it for today. Auburn recruiting is just as on fire as always, or fire freezing. The puns never stop. But there were so many recruits there on Saturday for Auburn's shellacking of Alabama A&M, and a lot of the guys that are kind of in. If Auburn picks up the guys I'm about to mention in a second, you're going to see an Auburn recruiting class finish at the bare minimum top two if they can just keep the guys that they have on their roster or as their commitments as they come in. I'm currently pulling up all of my notes, so I apologize for all the clicking. There we go. All right, so the first guy I want to mention is Deuce Knight. We've been talking about Deuce Knight for about a month and a half now. In terms of how much it is seeming more and more likely that he will be an Auburn Tiger. I've seen from the experts that he is either going to be an Auburn Tiger or he is going to be an Ole Miss Rebel, Black Bear, Land Shark, whatever they are over there in Oxford, Mississippi. So there have been a lot of experts kind of talking about Deuce Knight's decision, and it's pretty unanimous that it's going to happen soon, whether it just be a decommitment from Notre Dame or it just be a flat-out flipped commitment to somewhere else. We talked about Deuce Knight plenty of times. Again, top 5 quarterback of class 2025. 4-star, should be 5-star across the board, but take the higher ranking. A 5-star quarterback will always do you some good in your recruiting cycle. I can't wait for him to finally to flip where he's going to go at. It's between Auburn and Ole Miss at this point, and I'm fairly confident in Auburn's ability to grab him. So is some of the guys who are experts at predicting where these guys are going to flip to. Another huge player that'd be awesome for Auburn to grab soon, who's been getting some crystal balls to commit to Auburn, is Usman Kroma, the running back out of Leesburg, Georgia, and Lee County, Georgia, in that matter. Top 5 running back in class 2025, a guy who you're going to be pairing up alongside with A-Train, Alvin Henderson. You're going to try to figure out a way to get, or not figure out a way, but you're going to get your power back alongside your agile running back in A-Train. These two would pair out very nicely. And when you look at the future of Auburn's running back room right now, you're looking at Jeremiah Cobb and Dermari Alston being the 1 and 2 back going into the next year's class, because Darqueze Hunter will be going to the NFL after this season. So Auburn did not get a running back in this past class. I think his Fat Burnett was the big guy that Auburn was trying to get. He is now at Missouri. But you pick up A-Train, and everyone knew from the jump Auburn wanted to get 2 running backs in this class. You got your speed back in A-Train. You're going for your power back in 5'11", 200-pound Usman Kroma. I think this is an Auburn running back just in the making. I think Usman Kroma will be an Auburn Tiger when it's all said and done. But I really like Auburn's chances of getting a second running back in this class. And this recruiting cycle has been off the charts amazing. Again, as I always say, and as everyone has been saying, no one's ever seen Auburn recruit like this. No Auburn fan has ever seen Auburn recruit like this. No one has ever watched what is happening right now in Auburn, Alabama happen in Auburn, Alabama. It is crazy. Last 2 guys who are pretty much I'm not gonna say locks, but I would do some numbers to Auburn's recruiting side, because there's some guys that I like. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Elijah Melendez. Guy who we talked about maybe once or twice on the show, did commit to Miami, has since decommitted from Miami, and was in Auburn on Saturday, and already picking up some crystal balls to commit to the Auburn Tigers. A top 20 linebacker in the class, a 4-star, who would be a massive pickup for Auburn. Just kind of looking around, and he's an athlete at linebacker. He plays on both sides of the ball, plays at running back, and plays linebacker as well. 6'2", 225 out of, I'm not going to try to say what city is, but Osceola High School in Florida. So decommitting from Miami is huge. And of course he was at Auburn on Saturday. And I mean, A-Train's been tweeting. I love whenever the recruits or just anyone in general, players on the team at Auburn, whenever they tweet like mysterious messages, because I always get hyped up for some guys. I could see Elijah Melendez being one of those guys that we hear from very soon, making a decision to commit to the Auburn Tigers. But the last guy I want to mention today is someone that I think is very well worth mentioning. As you look at I'm going to pull up real quick, the top 10 recruits state of Alabama. If you look at that first name on the board, Naeem Offord, he is currently getting some crystal balls to flip from Ohio State to the Auburn Tigers, which would mean, if it were to happen, Auburn would have 9 out of the top 10 players from the state of Alabama in the 2025 recruiting class. It would just be absolutely crazy. And top 2 cornerback in the class, number 1 overall player in the state of Alabama. Auburn is picking up a lot of traction on getting the flip here. And I mean, Tom Loy is the guy making the predictions on 24/7, and he has a pretty good track record of making his picks. So if Auburn were to get those 4 guys, I've kind of been looking around, and Auburn would jump up to number 2 class with a not a far distance between them and Ohio State, who remain at the number 1 spot. I mean, it's outstanding, the level of energy that is being put into making sure Auburn is recruiting at the highest level possible. This is something Auburn, again, it's something I always say, and it gets repetitive. I understand. It might be a little annoying. I understand because but if you're not an Auburn fan, it might make sense that it is annoying. Auburn is recruiting at a pace and at a level that, again, no one's ever seen before. And I'm going to be honest, I don't feel like Auburn fans, and including myself, know how to react. It's just something that is awesome to watch happen. If Auburn were to pick up those 4 guys, jump up from number 5 to number 2 in the class of 2025. Auburn currently already has the number 1 class in class 2026, with plenty of time to recruit and keep that class as high as it is. It is just awesome to watch happen right in front of our eyes. But that kind of does. I mean, there were plenty of recruits there for the Alabama A&M game, but those are the 4 main guys that I wanted to talk about today. I mean, the best part about the win over Alabama A&M was the fact that you sat down and watched a bunch of 2024 guys get into the game early and often and make plays. You saw Malik Blockton and get in there and get a sack and a few tackles. You watched, 3 out of your 4 true freshman wide receivers all get touchdowns. Malcolm Simmons getting 2, one of them being a special teams touchdown. And, of course, I mean, you can't forget the other guys. I mean, Demarcus Riddick was able to get in. You had some of your safeties get in, like Kinsley Faustin and Caleb Harris. There was Towns Magoo even got the start for the game and showed off that, this 2024 class is really good. And I can't wait to see Alex McPherson come back. And I'm going to be so excited to know the fact that Auburn has, again, the best 1-2 puncher kicker in the country. So, not only is Hugh Freeze recruiting very well, his scheme and how this team is built is going to do wonders for guys who are looking at Auburn. Auburn is trying to rebuild and build up as much talent as possible, and they're doing that through the freshman classes, and then just kind of putting the sprinkles on an ice cream with the transfer portal. That's kind of how you want to build a program. You don't want to go too far to one side and only do one thing. You saw it with Dabo Sweeney over there in Clemson. He just lost 34-3, and sources are other teams that are just doing the transfer portal part of recruiting aren't doing too hot either. You have to have a happy medium of both, and Hugh Freeze is doing that. And you're going to get more and more recruits coming to you if they keep seeing the fact that, not only do I have a chance at early playing time, I'm not going to be that far down the depth chart if I'm a high-ranking, high-level caliber player and coming to Auburn who's trying to, compete for national championship by, I believe 2026 is around the timetable. I think next year is like, hey, we're going to start competing for the SEC, and next year's after that, CFP. But yeah, those are the 4 guys I really wanted to touch on because I think those 4 are going to be major in making sure Auburn stays not only within the top 5, but the top 3 of the 2025 recruiting class. So I don't know when it's going to happen. I wish I was more of an expert on the timetables of all these things than I am, but I'm expecting decisions from these guys within a couple months. Auburn, again, recruiting at the highest level possible in the country. I will die on that hill. But with that, going to kind of go into our last couple things to talk about. I have a wish list for what I want Auburn to do this week against Cal, and I'm going to do my SEC power ranking. So when we get back from the little bit of an ad break, on the other side of that break, we will continue the rest of the show. So we'll be right back with the little College Loop merch commercial.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your College Loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
That's on thewarreport.com. Click the shop. First page is the College Loop hat. Second page is a Feelin' Loopy t-shirt. Most comfortable pairs of clothing you're ever going to wear in your entire life. I've been reading up on the message boards. They're saying the College Loop fan costume is going to be the highest grossing costume of the Halloween season. So make sure to get yours today before supplies last. I'm pretty sure they're going to be there forever. But there you go. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the show. Let me know where you think Auburn's going to finish in the recruiting rankings. If you think they're going to finish number 1, let me know. Who do you think Auburn's going to add that I didn't already mention? Auburn is, of course, top 5 in the class, I believe, consensusly across the board, number 5 in the country. And I expect them to be even higher than that if they continue the trend that they are on right now. So let me know what you think. What's your prediction for Auburn's 2025 recruiting class rankings? I guess if you say number 1, they're going to be number 1 in the SEC, but what do you think they're going to finish in the SEC as well? So with that, I made a little bit of a wish list. I have 3 items on a wish list that I want Auburn to do as they prepare for Cal this weekend. So starting off with number 1, I'm trying to pull up a little banner so I can kind of have visual aid as everyone can see it. Live production and stuff. All right, so my first thing is keep gaining confidence as the SEC slate gets closer. We saw a lot of confidence come out of this team last week against Alabama A&M. And, of course, as I said last week, as I said this week, there was a lot it was a different feel from last year, from this last week than there was from last year. You saw Peyton Thorne playing at a higher level than you saw from last year. You saw a high level of coaching from Hugh Freeze than you saw from last year. All in week 1, Hugh Freeze was actively coaching. He even talked about how Jill, his wife, kind of got onto him for how he was coaching up Peyton Thorne after a errant throw in the I think on a 3rd down from the press conference. I mean, no one is mad that Hugh Freeze is doing that. Everyone is excited that Hugh Freeze is finally doing that. Last year, it just kind of felt like he wasn't really in it all the way coaching-wise, like in the game. And a lot of that came from the fact that it was a bit of a, I like to call it a Tower of Babel situation between him and his coordinator, Philip Montgomery, where at first they were just talking, they just had the same kind of vocabulary. The different words meant the same plays or something on those lines. But this year, this is Hugh Freeze's offense. And he wants that offense to look the part, look like a Hugh Freeze caliber offense. And you're seeing that build up. And you hear him talk about Peyton Thorne and talk about how much he respects Peyton Thorne's confidence in himself. and obviously raises the confidence of everyone else on the team. Auburn was able to throw the ball very well against Alabama, and we all expected them to be running the ball first. And you just that level of confidence in your pass game. I mean, I think everyone was shocked that Auburn went out on the field on Saturday and absolutely just let it air out. I don't know how many more games we're going to see like that this season. I don't expect to be very much, but I think that Auburn just needs to continue to just keep gaining that confidence they can keep in themselves. Auburn, I mean, found themselves in deep trouble last year whenever it came to like looking ahead in games or just after a while, just not putting in that much effort into it. Hence why Auburn got out coached and out what looked like to be outmanned by New Mexico State last year. So all I need is just go week by week. Arkansas is in 3 weeks. Oklahoma is in 4. After that, you got Georgia. You have a bye week, and you got Missouri. You got Kentucky. You got Vanderbilt, who don't sleep on Vanderbilt this year because they might be good. They might be good. I'll give them the mic right now, but the Vanderbilt looks better than they did last year. And they have Diego Pavia, and that's a scary thought. So just kind of go into it week by week. Keep gaining confidence. Keep playing like you are a top-level team in the country. Keep playing like you're a top 25 team in the country. Just leave it at that. And I think Auburn is very capable of doing that. So just kind of going into this week, I don't think Cal is like that great of a team, which kind of gets me my next point real quick. I'll go ahead and pull it up. Don't let the lesser team stay in the game with you, and don't get out coached. I know that I kind of combine two things into one, but I think they kind of are synonymous in the sense of I don't think Auburn and Cal are on the same playing field when it comes to talent or coaching. I think Justin Wilcox is a good coach. I think he's a great defensive coach. I don't think Cal has the talent right now to compete the level. They just had a struggle, and I'm trying to remember doing the math in my head, but it was a 31-13 win over an FCS team in UC Davis. I'm not too high on Cal this year. I don't think a lot of people are, and I don't want to be I will be, but I don't want to be it right now on the show. Auburn has a tendency at times to play to the level of their opponent. If Auburn wants to continue to gain the respect of college football like they're wanting to do, you cannot let a team in Cal play up to you or you play down to them. Auburn needs to show off that they are capable of winning games that they're supposed to win confidently, as I just said earlier. But last year was just such a tough game to watch. I mean, it didn't help that it was at 1 o'clock in the morning when we were all turning off the game. But now you have a chance to, you're going on game 2 of your 5-game home game stretch. Just kind of make sure you keep ahead of it. Don't let Cal do anything differently than what you're used to them doing. I mean, they're going to run the ball heavily with Jaden Knott, who's one of the best running backs in the country. Auburn was able to lock him down last year, lock him down this year too. Just play like you are the better team on every single front, offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. Make sure that you are able to get a lead, keep the lead, and expand the lead. So I just think Auburn, just don't let the lesser team stay in the game. Last thing I have, and I think this kind of goes along with everything else too, expand the public opinion on the offense. Everyone saw a new-look Auburn team. Auburn fans don't know how to act right now. I can speak from experience. Auburn passed the ball a lot. I'm not used to watching Auburn pass the ball a lot. I've always been of the Auburn is a run-first team forever and always. There's never been a time where Auburn in my lifetime has ever been a pass-first, pro-style level team. Keep building on it. I never want to be an offense that relies too much on one thing again, really. It hasn't worked out in quite some time for Auburn in terms of just where they are talent-wise and where they are success-wise. I think when you go into the Cal game, I think you try to utilize your pass game as much as you need to, but I think you also need to start expanding the run game more. And of course, Auburn, Hugh Freeze knows that he can run the ball. He has 3 guys who are all starter level players, all running the ball. I don't want to say an equal amount of times because I think you're going to get a lot of workhorse carries from Jarquez Hunter. But Auburn needs to continue to build up the opinion of what this offense is going to be. Find your rhythm. Find what you do best, and find ways to incorporate the plays that you want to try out, like the pass plays. I mean, Auburn saw a lot of deep ball throws last week that, again, we're not used to seeing. It just baffles my mind that I got to watch Auburn throw the ball deep several times. So keep building on that. Take this week against a lesser opponent. You have back-to-back weeks of that. New Mexico, watch out for Devin Dampier. I'll get into him next week. And we'll have a full preview of this game on. I'm not going to go full deep into Cal yet. I'll go that deep on that on the Thursday and pregame show. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, so just keep expanding how the college football world sees Auburn's offense. We kind of expected the defense to look good, but the offense was always going to be the iffy one. We saw a passing attack from Auburn this past week. I want to see a balanced attack that kind of shows that Auburn has the potential to destroy defenses both by land and by air, eventually by sea, but not. I don't think we'll get to that ever, unless they play the games on an aircraft carrier, which would be awesome. But yeah, just keep expanding the offense. Kind of find what fits in your rhythm and figure out what's going to be your go-to this year. And of course, Auburn could find a way to be a balanced team this year. It would be a miracle that Hugh Freeze was able to kind of change the mold of this offense just in an off season and how it works. I mean, KLS and Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, having Valdo and Robert Lewis there too, who didn't have the best games last week, but they were. They're going to be valuable parts of this offense as the season goes along. And of course, for Valdo Fairweather, again, I will stand down on the hill that he is, if not the best, the second best tight end in the SEC, and needs some respect on his name. He only had one catch for 7 yards, and he almost came down with a miracle of a touchdown too. So don't get me started with him. But yeah, Auburn has a chance to continuously build a balanced attack from the offensive side of the ball, and I'm here for it. Something new. It's going to be something awesome to watch happen. Auburn has a wide receiver core that rivals really a lot of the receiver cores that Auburn's ever had, and has a chance to be better than some receiver cores that we've seen in recent memory of just football in general. So keep building on it. So yeah, that's my wish list for what I want Auburn to do against Cal in week 2. Again, as I said earlier, full week 2 preview on Thursday. I'll preview the Auburn Cal game, as well as, preview some of the games that I have selected. If you're not aware, I went 8-2 on my college football pick'ems for the week. So LSU upset with you, as well as I'm trying to remember the other team that I lost with. I've already changed up everything, so I can't remember exactly what the other team was off the top of my head. But I do know that if I picked Virginia Tech Vanderbilt, I definitely did pick Virginia Tech. Sorry about that, Vanderbilt. No one expected it to happen. But with that, kind of rounding out the show with the last thing I'm going to do every Tuesday, I'm going to release my SEC Power Rankings weekly, starting off from the bottom. Number 16 is South Carolina. They're the lowest team that won in week 1, as they had I believe it was a 4-point win over Old Dominion. Nothing looked good for South Carolina. They were able to ultimately just out-talent Old Dominion. Beamer Ball might be dead. Fully. That loss was just terrible. It was a terrible win. Sorry. It felt like a loss for most people. South Carolina, I believe, for me right now, is the worst team in the SEC. That's where they're going to stand until they prove to me otherwise. So they could very well change that opinion this week as they take on Kentucky. But as it stands for me right now, South Carolina is number 16 in the SEC. Number 15 is another team I think has a guy who's going to be on the hot seat, or not who is going to be on one, but currently is on one. Probably the guy who's on the hottest seat in the country is Billy Napier. Florida looked bad. Graham Mertz looked terrible against Miami. Everybody on Florida looked bad against Miami. Miami absolutely had a field day against Florida, and I don't want to sound too conceited, but I called it. I told everybody Miami was going to beat Florida. Florida on the downward trend of a coach. that recruiting class that they got, I don't know how many of those guys are going to stay at the end of the year, because this team is not going to look the same next year. New coach, new staff, new everything. Yeah, Florida's bad. And their schedule isn't very helpful to that fact either. Or I guess it's more helpful to that pick. I don't really know. Their schedule's tough. It doesn't get easier from what just happened to them. Florida, number 15, potentially could be 16 by the end of the year. 14, Mississippi State. I think they played very well against Eastern Kentucky, but I still need to see them against a Power 5 team. That kind of goes for a lot of teams. There's not a lot of movement up at the top because they didn't really play nobody. But I kept Mississippi State at 14. I just continue to play well against the other teams of the college football world. Just kind of play better against FCS, against non-FCS opponents. Arkansas kind of gets the same thing for me. They kind of stayed at 13 for me. They played very well. They scored, I believe, scored a touchdown on every single offensive drive they had against UAPB. Continuously play well against teams that aren't in the FCS, and you'll gain some more respect and go up. I have Kentucky at number 12. I believe they did drop one. 31-0 win over Southern Miss. I'll give you the weather benefit of the doubt. Kentucky, I'm still not high on Kentucky. I think they could finish lower in the season than this. I'm just not. I'm not high on them. But number 12 is where I'm going to have them going into week 2 as they play South Carolina, and I believe a win right now over South Carolina isn't going to get you too many brownie points. Number 11 is Texas A&M. Yeah, that was a game that played on Saturday. They lost Notre Dame. That was just an absolutely horrendous offensive showcase for both teams. But Notre Dame prevailed. A&M dropped one spot to number 11 on my list, which saves room for number 10, who I contemplated giving this the number 1 spot just for the memes. But number 10 right now, I have Vanderbilt. I had to do it. Vanderbilt came out and absolutely just surprised and shocked the world. It was the biggest win of the week for everybody to watch Vanderbilt just take down the third best team in the ACC. I don't know who's good in the ACC outside of Miami right now, but they just beat Florida. And Boston College beat Florida State. So no one knows what the ACC looks like or what it feels like. But Vanderbilt won. I'm going to give them number 10 because it's Vanderbilt, and I think they deserve a little bit of respect for the win they got, and I think everyone kind of agrees with that. Number 9. 9 and up is kind of the same. I left Auburn number 9. Again, the high-flying offense. Finally got to see some of that. 8, Oklahoma played against Temple. Again, lower-ranked opponent. I think Temple's one of the worst teams in the country, and they put up a lot of points on them. The week 2 power rankings always sucks because I don't think everyone has a full picture of what a team is in week 1. Number 7, I have LSU. I didn't really move them anywhere. It's kind of because the same way I don't know how good USC actually is or how bad both those teams might be. Had I moved them down, I might move them like under Oklahoma, but I didn't feel the need to do that right now. So LSU currently stands number 7 for me. 6 and up, same list as always. Number 6 is Tennessee, who absolutely put on had a field day against Chattanooga this past week. So let's stay at number 6. Number 5, Ole Miss put up a 76-point win over I don't know what Furman actually, what their mascot is. Beat the snot out of Furman. Put up a lot of points. Alabama put up a lot of points against TJ Finley in Western Kentucky. Missouri had a great game against Murray State on Thursday. Texas beat down Colorado State. I almost said Colorado, but Colorado State. And Georgia beat the snot out of Clemson, which actually was the best win up for a team in week 1. Texas had the chance to do some damage this next week against Michigan, but I don't know how much of that game is actually going to account for them in the power rankings because I don't think Michigan is very good. They had a struggle win against Fresno State. So, neither here nor there. That kind of does it for this time of the College Loop Podcast. Come back for the Thursday show. We are going to be previewing week 2 of college football because we are now in the heart of it. Week 2 has a slew of good games. As I said earlier, Texas and Michigan. Just talk about some games that we're going to be predicting. Tennessee and NC State is going to be a great one. Colorado and Nebraska has a chance to have a lot of implications for both those second-year coaches. and so on and so forth. App State plays Clemson. Who knows who I might pick for that game? But, excuse me. But with that being said, I'm Dylan Larck on Twitter and also Instagram as well at Dylan Larck, DYLENLARCK. And of course, you find me right here on the College Loop podcast. If you like, comment, and subscribe, leave your thoughts on what you want Auburn to accomplish this week against Cal. Leave your thoughts on what you think Auburn's record, or not record, but their where do you think they're going to finish in the recruiting rankings by the end of this recruiting cycle. And of course, don't forget to check us out on social media as well, on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works. All those at the College Loop, and audio version of the show as well on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and of course Amazon Music. Basically anywhere you get the audio versions of your podcast. But of course, that being said, War Eagle, as always. And this has been the College Loop Podcast.